All right, guys, welcome. So just an update for you guys about what I've been doing with my data science course, which direction it's been taking me, and what my plans are. So I'm recording today from beautiful Santiago de Compostela. I wish you could see the sky. It is green. It is gorgeous. Clouds everywhere. I'm recording from my apartment. So I got a couple of screens up here. Let's get back into the actual course, right? So the course itself has multiple sections. You can see over here that I started with the foundations, data everywhere, ask questions. So you ask the kind of questions to know what kind of data exploration you need to undertake, and then there's the preparation of the data. So kind of part of the cleaning process, the pre-prep, and then the actual cleaning of the data. So that was course number 4. And then analyze the data. That was a bit heavy. I think the analysis part of it was, I didn't find the instructor very good. Not that she wasn't good. It's just like it wasn't easy for me to connect as much, and I lost a lot of steam here. But if you recall, I also tried to do Kaggle, and that wasn't a good idea to try to learn a lot of Python and machine learning and Kaggle at the same time. So I think maybe that was a bad idea to try to do both at the same time while I do a lot of my consulting and my own personal stuff. So maybe I took on too much, and so I lost a lot of steam. Right now we are in September 20th. So I'm a bit ahead. I'm a bit behind as far as how quickly I could have really gotten through this, but no matter, I think I'm doing just fine. So now I'm actually in the share your data through the art of visualization. So this is a lot about kind of learning different ways of demonstrating your data, kind of visualizing your data to the stakeholders or anybody else whom you're presenting to. The next one will be the data analysis, so kind of diving in a little bit with the R programming. And I'm actually really excited about that because I think R is really an interesting language. Some people kind of equate it to its function to Python. And Python is one of those things that I'll probably eventually get more familiar with, but I've already gotten some pretty good baseline understanding of how it works and what to use it for. And then the last one will be course number 8, which will be kind of the capstone, complete a case study. So you'll explore real world job interviews. You'll actually create your own little visualizations from data sets and stuff. So that should be interesting. Should be very hands-on. So it'll kind of give you a sense of like, what do you know? What don't you know? So that's where I'm at. So let's go over to this tab, and this is the actual section that I'm in right now. So this is the art of visualization. So if I click on start, it kind of shows you where I'm at over here in the section. I need to finish week 1, and I'm actually behind. Here I'm actually a little bit behind on my progress, which is not a big deal, honestly. So you're behind, and it's going to show you on top that you're behind and you're overdue. Doesn't matter, it just gives you an extension. But this is what the video will look like. And this one seems a little bit more straightforward. So what is it that I'm doing with all this information? Now, I'm just as comfortable not finishing this course if I see that it's no longer serving its purpose. But for the time being, I'm only paying $40 a month. So it's a good investment for me to continue down this course. Probably one thing that I think of any physician who's undertaking anything like this is, number one, if you're still interested in the clinical informatics pathway. I talked about this in a previous YouTube video, and I talked about this on my website as well. This is the pathway program. So next year, 2023, is the last year you'll be able to go through this pathway. After that, you'll have to take a 2-year Health Informatics course. And this is sort of the clinical informatics overview website. You can see it up here. It's pretty easy to follow yourself. And basically, it tells you everything that you need to get through the pathway. So it says open through 2022. So basically next year, all the way through, you can still enroll. But there are certain dates that you have to follow. Takes you through the eligibility. And I think it is in September now that the new study material are coming out because they revamped the actual exam. So this is a great time to get in on this. So what I'm trying to say is that, look, you're already getting some information on, you're already doing a course in data science. You are probably have some knowledge and experience managing PAs, NPs, MDs, DOs, patient workflows. Maybe you've done some work as a medical director in a clinic. So you'll qualify for this for sure. And having that degree behind you might open up some doors. And then the next thing I kind of want to take you into is doing your own little data experiment. Okay, so let's say you're like, I got some information. I kind of know how to work with spreadsheets by now. I know how to create SQL queries. I showed you guys how easy it is to actually get some basic ideas. And just as a reminder, this is SQL. SQL is a language used to interact with a database. And for example, to pull something out, to rename something, to create tables, to add tables together, to add columns together, concatenate, and to extract certain information from somewhere, to organize something in a particular way. And this is a great SQL reference. So you don't have to remember every single piece. That you remember, like, oh yeah, there was the foreign key and there was the primary key. And then if I want to create a table, how did that go? And you can see it does a great job of giving you an explanation. It tells you to try it yourself. So it actually gives you a window where you can kind of add things here and then experiment with it. And I think these are great ways for you to be able to still stay in the game, even though you made, like, the course is done, your Coursera course has finished, but you still want to practice it. I think find a database on a website like this. So you go to data.gov, you type in COVID-19, or you type in diabetes, right? And it's going to give you a bunch of databases that are already created on diabetes. So there are 98 databases found. This one says decrease the percentage of people who have diabetes from 11% to 10% by 2019. So I can click on that to get an idea of what it might be. Here's a little bit more information on it. If you go back, you can actually quickly pop into a CSV file. It's hosted on Amazon. And so it looks like there's just this historic value and a target. So not a lot of information there, but it might be worthwhile for you to want to explore this and be like, okay, what can I do with this? And it's a small enough data set that you could just work with it in a spreadsheet, right? So you can create some data visualizations there, so you can manipulate the data a little bit there and create some good information for yourself. And then maybe if you are on LinkedIn, you can go to LinkedIn on your profile, and then you can create a post. You can you can simply create a post and share it with a bunch of other physicians, etc. You can add you can add a photo, a screenshot of your data visualization. You can even add documents over here. So it's a really great way to share just what you learned. Like, hey guys, check out this new data set about COVID-19. This is what I learned about the most recent trials and the most recent studies. And then you can use your SQL. You can say that I created this by using some SQL, I created this by using some SQL queries, I created this by using some visualizations in Excel or in Google Sheets. And that's a good way to just be recognized by other people who understand the value of data visualization, and they're on LinkedIn, and they're going to be like, oh, Dr. Mo is interesting. I should check out his profile. Maybe I'll follow him. And that's why I always say, guys, this is the key. The key for you as a physician is to be visible on a platform. Whether you want to do Twitter, whether you want to do Instagram, whether you want to do something like this. For me, this is nice. This is easy. It makes sense. Like, I talk about where I'm working right now. I talk about my previous experiences, all the ones that were relevant, I put in here. I did delete a lot of them that are just no longer relevant. I have some certificates here that I have completed, and that's really great because it just shows my audience and recruiters that, like, okay, this is what I know. Why do I talk about recruiters and audience? Because you're following my channel probably because you want a lot of time independence and you want to be able to pursue what you love. I don't exactly know what I love yet. I do know what I don't enjoy. And at the same time, I want my channel, I want this here to be very obvious what I like. Clinical data consultant, that's what I do. And maybe like telemedicine experience. And then I talk a little bit about myself, like, hey, what am I interested in? What am I not interested in? And so that's going to give somebody a pretty good idea of what I'm about. And then even creating some of these posts, creating some bigger content is going to help people be like, all right, yeah, this guy's not going to be interested in what I'm about to sell him. But then somebody else who's really whom I'm the right fit for is going to. So if you go over here to learning, I already opened it up, you can do further learning. You can type in SQL, and if I type in SQL correctly, I can show, I can take a course on SQL Essential Learning. I can take that course, right? So I can add that. And once I finish this, I can add it as a certificate to my collection on my profile. It'll show up here at the very bottom under all the different licenses and certifications that I've done. And that is great. That is a great way for people to know. So imagine, what things do you want on there? Do you want a bunch of SQL, data visualization, data visualization, data visualization? No, you probably want a little bit of like business intelligence. So you want to add some business intelligence in there. You want to add some project management. So somebody like become a business intelligence specialist. Great. So here are 7 items, a 19-hour course. That's nothing. That's an easy one to sit through. You don't have to take any big tests to pass it. And it'll take you on a great learning path to add that to your repertoire. And then I can do project management, which is another big one to have as somebody who wants to maybe be a chief medical information officer or a chief medical officer of a company. And so this is another great one to do. In the meantime, of course, if you aren't interested in doing a lot with the learning on LinkedIn, this is the place to go and just search people. Now you can look at your current network of people. You can always go to jobs, which I've mentioned many times in the past. Like look for jobs, look for clinical consulting or data science, and you can see like Genesis, Vios. So like, who are these companies? What do they do? Oh, Optum. Yeah, Optum is a big one, and they want somebody for OBC. I have no idea what OBC is, so I'll read into that. And so then at the very bottom here, when you look at the jobs, you can see what are the required qualifications. Okay, so they need experience in this, they need experience in that. Are they listing any software? Are they listing any pre-qualifications? Like, oh, you must have an MBA, you must have an actual degree in health informatics for us to consider you. Okay, great. So maybe I can go to the next company and figure out what else they're looking for. I've always mentioned Indeed, so clinical consulting, and you can't just put in one keyword and hope that that's going to be enough to find the right job for you. Clinical operations, clinical research, clinical R&D. I actually recently was on the Roman website, so Roman jobs, and it was pretty good because they had some interesting Roman Health, get hired. I think it's it. They had some interesting job positions at Row. I don't even know if this is the right website. No, it's not the right website. Anyway, Roman had some really interesting job positions available for physicians who want to be in quality control and quality assurance in healthcare. And so they needed somebody with some data experience and data management experience. So my point is, like, you could find a job like that. And I think that might be interesting. Other things to do in the meantime. Here, I went to meetup.com and I typed in Los Angeles and I typed in healthcare startup. And here you can find a bunch of different startup groups, which are actually meeting now, even though it's the pandemic. And this is a great place for you to get some connections. Franchising, human-robot interaction in healthcare. So you can click on that. You can go to one of the meetings, talk about yourself, meet the people who are doing this, and then discuss with them like, hey, are you interested in what I'm doing? Maybe connect with somebody who is like-minded, which is what I really find useful for me on LinkedIn. Because if I go on here and I see, like, maybe I click on this company and it says, oh, look, another alumni works here. And I'm like, well, it's Brian MD. Okay, Brian, maybe MD. Yeah, MD, but probably maybe a physician. And so I click on them and I check out their profile, like, oh yeah, they also worked on similar companies. Let me connect with them and ask them a question like, hey dude, what are you into? What are you interested in? What are you pursuing? And I think that's a great way for you to make some of these connections. So Meetup is a great one. Do it in your location. Do it if it's not in your location. A lot of them are now doing a virtual Meetup. So even if you're not local, you can still attend. And finally, I always check out doc jobs. The reason I like doc jobs is because it's a very diverse number of job positions which are available on here. And it may not necessarily be a job you're looking for, but it might give you an idea of opportunities that you can kind of explore. So here's somebody who's a research associate, somebody in biostatistics, maybe a healthcare analyst. Okay, so what's a healthcare analyst? So they're looking for somebody to analyze preclinical and clinical data. Okay, so they're looking for somebody to analyze clinical data. That's the course I'm taking. Support and invest the process, including identification of opportunities and due diligence. Okay, so they're basically saying, explore the data. Is there an opportunity for us to invest here? Okay, conduct financial analysis on healthcare companies, build and maintain financial models for healthcare companies, monitor company development. So, what do you need? Well, extensive scientific training in life sciences, prior work experience, venture capital, ability to read, analyze scientific literature. Now, you read this part and you're like, first of all, always remember, the person who wrote this job ad doesn't know shit, right? They're looking for this magical person out there who's going to meet all of the criteria. That person never exists. The reality is the person they're going to find is somebody who's going to meet some of these criteria, and they're going to have to pick between these 5 people, none of them who meet all the criteria, but this is what they're throwing it out there, hoping to find that perfect person. So don't be afraid to apply. Don't be afraid to apply, guys. This is a big piece of advice for you. Like, I've applied to jobs where I was completely unqualified for, but it looked interesting to me, and that is why I applied. And I thought I would learn a lot, and I know that they would gain a lot from my experience. So this is interesting. Now, you might be like, financial models. I know nothing about financial models. It's data. It doesn't matter what it is. You know how to manipulate data. It's a bunch of numbers. It's a bunch of text. It's a bunch of string. You got to put it together. You got to be able to sift through it, clean it, analyze it, and then visualize it, and then share it with people who have to make decisions like, hey, this is a new biotech company. It's a startup. Should we invest in it? Should we acquire it? Should we pursue it? Should we watch them? Should we dump them? And so you look and say, wow, they're doing interesting research in mRNA vaccines, and mRNA vaccines have already done pretty well. But take a look at what they're publishing over here. Their publishing is really bad, and it doesn't look like they're getting anywhere. Like, they're jumping back and forth to 5 different things. So you present that. That's all you have to present. You don't have to make the actual decision, right? But you're presenting that information. You're cleaning up that information. You're somebody who understands what other potential things there are in mRNA technology. So that's basically a little bit about what I've been doing. So I'll keep working through this. I'll grind through the rest of this course, Coursera, and I'll make it through the rest of these slowly. Probably think by the end of the year I'll have it done. Obviously, I thought I was going to get it done in a couple of months, and I'm only dedicating about an hour a day to this because the rest of the time I'm studying my Spanish and doing my other work, doing consulting and doing telemedicine, etc. All right, guys, if you have any questions, leave some comments below. Send me an email, drmo@digitalnomadphysician.com. And that's it. Take care.